Hello, I'm Jim Woods, and I'm so thrilled to be your host today. And today we're honored to have with us Stephen Joyce, who is the engineer extraordinaire at a company called Holibob. And I want you to listen to what he tells you that they actually do. Welcome, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jim. Holibob is really a travel technology company that is focused on the tours and activities sector. So we are basically building software that helps people to buy things to do when they go on vacation. So we are really building software to facilitate the joy of travel. The things that people do when they get to a destination and they want to experience it. Those experiences is what we sell through our platform to travelers every day. And that's the reason that I get out of bed in the morning, is because we get to really bring joy to travelers and to people that have never either are going back to a destination that they love or have never been to a destination and really want to explore it.
Well, Stephen, years ago when I was in the Navy, I remember hearing a commercial. And I've forgotten the name of the company. This has been many years ago. I believe they were a Swedish concern, and they used to advertise their product simply by, you may not have ever heard of us, but we make the products that you use better. And it reminds me of what you guys are doing. People may not be familiar with your name, but the experiences that they want, that they expect to have, you make them real and make them better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and being a business to business company, so being B2B, we actually, consumers don't know who we are, because we actually work with retail partners who actually sell those tours to the end consumer. So we're really the mechanism behind those sales and the engine that kind of powers that sale for the consumer. But really, we're just in the background.
Now, I'm curious, how is it you guys came up? You know, J. Paul Getty famously said countless years ago, the way to be successful is to find a need and fill it. I mean, how did you guys find this need? How did you create this niche? How did you do it?
Well, there's the tour and activity space has been around for it's been around for hundreds of years. I think Thomas Cook actually in the 1800s was technically the first tour operator with his train excursions in England. And not many people know that. So
right.
It's something new. So it's not new. It's been around for a long time. But it's really only in the last 20 years that we've seen a lot of small operators, and it's a huge sector. In fact, most people don't know that the things to do sector of travel is actually the third largest sector after flights and hotels. And yet the things to do sector really gets sort of overlooked for the most part, because it's seen as very complicated and very fragmented. And it's made up of a lot of small businesses. And it's only really in the last 20 years that technology has been developed to allow those small businesses to be able to market and sell their activities to both consumers directly, as well as through marketplaces like ours and like others like Expedia and Booking.com and Get Your Guide and Viator and those sorts of things. So it's really only very recently that a lot of that technology has become available for those small businesses.
I find that fascinating. Now, for my audience, when we present this later on, it'll be on Spotify and people will see you live. I mean, see you visually. But for others, they would hear only the auditory portion of this podcast. Now, for those that won't see that part of it, the visual aspect of it, I want you to know Stephen here looks like he has the background of, am I correct in saying this is Star Trek?
It's actually the bridge of the Star Destroyer from Star Wars.
What was I thinking about?
I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so
I don't get out enough yet. Okay, okay.
But you were close. You were close.
I was way close. All right. So, and Stephen has a wonderful outfit on and everything, and it's just really great because you can feel his passion. He spoke earlier and said that it was one of the things that get him up in the morning. So tell me, where do you get this passion for? Because you guys, in the end, you're providing you're providing exemplary customer service so that people don't have to think about you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of what we do is really making sure that the entire customer journey from discovery of a things to do, if they know they're going to, I don't know, if they know they're going to Las Vegas, say, or San Francisco, and they're looking for that product that or that thing to do that is really going to inspire them, or really looks exciting to them. That's really what we're trying to simplify for them, is that whole discovery process, and then the whole booking process, to make it smooth as possible. Because a lot of that right now is still very complex, like being able to go to Google and do a search, and research actually shows that most consumers are hitting 17 or 18 different websites before they actually make a decision in terms of something that they want to book.
Yes.
80% of the bookings that are done in the tour and activity space are still done offline, which means like in person, when the customer gets to the destination. So a lot of them aren't even booking in advance. So a lot of what we're trying to do is shift that behavior away from booking in destination, and do it online on the convenience of your phone, or on your laptop, or on your iPad. Mostly on your phone is really what we're kind of looking at, because that's where people are spending the most of their time, is on mobile devices. So we really want to make that as easy as possible, with as few clicks as possible, with as little like typing in searches, those sorts of things.
Now, see, I as a consumer online, I like what you just said a moment ago, trying to simplify it. Now, I've heard of people simplifying the approach before, in a way that is still something that gives engineers or software engineers, it's like the old IBM commercial where they show these guys have a train, and the train is going through all the little loops and everything, and staying on track and so on. And then so they have it in the commercial, and then somebody asked in the IBM commercial, but can it make sales? Can it do this? And they hadn't thought about that, but they had a commercial that made the trains explode. And people said, ooh, but nobody went to press the button to buy anything at all, but they went, ooh. So it sounds like you have a lot of human intent in your product, that you have customers, you try to make the process easy. The other day I went to one where to do something, and it said to get more information, press here. But when I pressed the button, I mean, it was a huge screen, press here. And when I pressed the button to get there, it took me to another screen that expected me to press a button to get there again before I got the information that I wanted. Now I have anxiety. So how do you take it from something that makes software engineers or developers, or something that the end user can say, that was easy?
Well, so the magic there is about changing the focus of development from a technology-centric approach to a customer-centric approach. So what I try to do every day is to reinforce in the business that what do we want our customers to do? How simple do we, like, what process do we want them to go through in order to complete this task? And how few steps can we do that in? And how best can we do that to make their experience as good as possible? So instead of thinking of it from a technological standpoint, like, ooh, let's add this feature because this is really cool. Yes. It's like, no, let's not add that feature. Let's look at, what does the customer need to achieve? What does the customer need to do in this context, right? If they are searching for a product, what is the simplest way that they can go from A to B in that case? And let's simplify that as much as possible. We may have to do a bunch of technical work in the background. We may have to, use AI or build algorithms or do whatever we need to do, right? Because at the end of the day, the consumers don't care about that. Yes. What they care about is getting from A to B as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So how do we do that and then build the tools underneath in order to achieve that goal. And that's what I try to focus on is the customer experience first and foremost.
How did you develop this? I mean, where you didn't wake up one morning and have this epiphany and say, I want to focus on the customer experience, that I want to shorten the customer journey so that the customer, not the engineers, feel wow. So
Yeah.
where did you get this process or this thinking to do this?
Oh, honestly, I don't know if it's something that it's not something that I didn't have an epiphany about it. It's something I've always just felt really strongly about. Like I've been in this business a lot. I've been in web development since 1997. So this is not a new journey for me. So it's always been like, my focus has always been on the user experience, because the user drives the individuals, the customer, whether it's a customer or whether it's an administrative user using some kind of system, or whether it's a salesperson using, a back-end system to try and complete a sale. They all have tasks that they need to achieve. They all have things that they need to do in the system. And if we understand what they need to do and build the system around those needs, then we build user-centric tools rather than tools that the user has to learn. It becomes innate for them to be able to use the tool, right? So
Yes.
it's like it's the difference between giving somebody a piece of software and having to give them a manual in order for them to learn how to use the software, versus giving them something that doesn't require manual and they can innately use it because it's so simple, right? I would argue it's the difference between Microsoft's Zune and the Apple iPod.
Really?
Yeah. The Apple iPod, you can give it to a 3-year-old and they would know how to use it in probably a couple minutes. But the Microsoft Zune, which was the competitor at the time that really didn't last in the marketplace, had tons of features. It had way more features than the Apple iPod at the time. But it was so much more complex to use and it wasn't intuitive that people just didn't use it as much.
Yes. You remind me of this book by MIT professor Michael Schrange called Serious Play. And he has a section where he talks about developers and so on, not just developers. I don't want to mischaracterize developers, software engineers and all, because you have organizations where they create these processes, these procedures and so on, and they have a goal in mind, but the result is so far from what the goal was, making the employee and customer experience so effortless, that so magical for them. Like, well, that's amazing. Like a Disney experience.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to know what's making everything work in small world, but you just know that feeling you had. And it's amazing how you talked about the difference between the Google product and the Apple product and how they simplified it. That's what he talks about in the book. It's as if you guys already figured out the secret sauce of giving customers what they want when they realize they don't even know what they want yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's effortlessly. I don't know why that was so hard to say. Kind of drawing out from the customer, it's sort of almost intuiting what they want from the system before they even know what it is, right? So being
Yes.
able to, like, for example, one of our goals is to basically draw out from the customer aspects of their trip that are important to them in a way that is more conversational than using a traditional search, right? So a traditional search bar on any travel website would be like, where do you want to go? And you type in London or whatever, and then it would list for you 500 products in London. And then it would give you a list of filters, and you can filter by type, you can filter by activity, you can filter by price point, you can, lots of little levers and switches you can switch and whatever. Our approach has been to try and develop something that's much more conversational. So as if you were talking to a person about what is important to you and asking questions like, what do you want to achieve on this trip? Do you want to learn something? Do you want to experience a new culture? Do you want to try new foods? and asking questions that all apply to the types of products that are going to be delivered to the customer, but in a way that's more conversational and much more relaxed. So it's a way of eliciting those requirements from them and then finding the best products that fit those requirements for them for their trip. So they may be going somewhere and you know, they may just want to relax, and they may want to do something on the water, but they really enjoy food and they love culture. So you find some products that fit that particular need. And then instead of giving them 500 products, you give them 10 products that fit that criteria. And now all of a sudden there's no conundrum of choice, right? They're not sitting there going, oh my God, there's 500 products. What am I going to do with having to look at all these things and read descriptions? Like, no, we're going to ask you some simple questions, get a really good understanding of what it is that's important to you on this trip. And that may change from trip to trip, right?
Yes.
That's the other thing. And it may actually change from day to day. Like you may get to that destination and be like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I just want to relax today. And you want to do something chill. But then the next day we ask you, how are you feeling? And do you want to do something more active tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, you know what? I was chill today. I want to do something active tomorrow. And then changing those, right? Changing up the product mix at that point to be like, okay, well, here's some active stuff that you could do, and delivering that instead. But again, not delivering 500 products, delivering like 5 or 10 recommendations that are like really close to what they want, so that when they look at that, they're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And they, you know, can book it on their phone, and they're set for the next day, and they're good. And that's the kind of experience that we want to have with the customer, is that sort of engaged, interactive approach to selling tours and activities, instead of something that's very kind of like Sears catalog from 1965, you know?
And yet there are people still doing it from 1965.
Yeah, they are, because it's tried and true. And if you throw enough Google AdWords at it, you can make money.
Yes, you can. Now, you guys give the that means that at the end, you're giving, excuse me, or throughout the process, you're giving it a significant customer experience now. How do you find people to work with you, your department, that feel this, that have this passion, this overwhelming desire to give those experiences to the customer, rather than bogging them down with flashy things and 500 choices?
Well, I mean, on the technology side, so on the engineering side, that can be a bit of a challenge, because engineers are hard to find as it is right now. So, you know, in some ways, you're kind of limited in terms of the resources that you can get. But for us, and for me especially, it's about hiring the right fit, right? So skill sets are, I mean, generally when you, I'll give you an example. We just hired a functional tester. I just hired a functional tester, and I put the job posting out, and I got 150 respondents to that, which is I was expecting, like, you know, given what everybody said about the job market, I was expecting maybe 20 or 30, but we got 150 that we had to go through. We narrowed it down to 12 that based on skill set that matched what we really needed. And then we interviewed them all, and they all had pretty much the same skill set. What it came down to was how well they communicated, how passionate they were on the call, on the interviews with us. And you know, we asked them, who's the most important person in, as far as the business is concerned, who is the most important person in this business? And if they answered the customer, then they won. No, but a lot of them don't answer that, because it's kind of a trick question. A lot of people actually a lot of people don't say the customer. You know, in today's sort of business climate, you know, most people will say the shareholder, which I think is absolutely the wrong approach. But the customer really is and has to be the focus of what you do every day. And if you use them as your North Star, and you focus on what the customer needs and how we can best serve the customer, that drives the rest of the business, because then we're serving the customer, and the customer is the one that pays the bills. So if we are serving the customer and they are happy, and they tell other customers and they are happy, then they continue to do business with us, and it works on down the line. And it also allows us to be able to really build products that are uniquely customer centric in a way that our competitors are not, because they aren't focusing on the customer the same way that we are.
Now, what gets me is somehow you really get it, Stephen. I mean, you understand how important having the right employee working with you, having someone that understands the importance of simplifying the process for the customer, so they come back and they tell their, kind of like you're giving the customer you don't remember the old movie show called Fantasy Island?
Oh,
okay.
I'm that old. I do.
Oh, you are, okay. They give the customer an experience the customer wants to go home and tell their friends about, or if you saw the HBO series Westworld.
Yeah,
you're
loved it.
If you just want to go someplace and let off some steam, and oh my goodness, you have a full-bodied experience that you want to come back again and again. That's what it sounds like you're talking about. Now someone drive, well, I put this widget over here and I to make it do this, and it whistles and so on. You're seeing the human-centered approach, not from the standpoint of just talking about it, but making the experience. And that I applaud you, your company for. Tell me before we go, what type of culture do you guys have that embeds this in people that make this come alive for the employees that you have?
Well, so the company's very new. It's only 3 years old now. Founded by a couple of young guys out of Scotland, who, built this company basically kind of pre-COVID. So 2018, 2019, they started the business. And I've only been with the business since April of this year, April 2022. And I joined as the result of a merger, an acquisition of the company that I was working with, Tourism Solved, which within it had, I would argue, probably one of the best management teams in the tours and activity space. Like, these are folks that have years and years of managerial experience working for companies like Viator, TripAdvisor. And I think part of the culture, part of that, the culture that we have comes from that combination of the youthfulness that existed in the company before the acquisition happened, and the wisdom that has come from that group of experienced leaders and managers that came from Tourism Solved. So I really love the energy of the company. Like, one of the key mission statements or values, actually, I guess, of the company is authenticity.
Yes.
It's stated as one of our values, and that everybody in the company is they really try to promote authenticity and vulnerability and the ability to ask questions and not feel dumb if you've got a question or you don't understand something, being able to ask for help, and that sort of approach is really, really refreshing, because that doesn't exist in a lot of large corporate cultures. So they've really, from day one, been really focused on trying to create an environment that is inclusive, that is authentic for people, that where people can feel like they can be part of a team and accomplish things without the fear of failure. Right? People fear in environments, corporate environments especially, people fear failure because they see failure as you could get fired, or there might be potential for loss or whatever. But in this environment, in the culture that we've created, we want people to push themselves and to experiment and to try new things and to try out ideas. And if you fail, you fail. And you use that as an opportunity to grow in some other direction. And that's both from a business standpoint as well as a personal standpoint. So that sort of openness and the ability to kind of focus on people's abilities rather than where they came from or
Yes.
who they are, like it's just a really, really refreshing environment. And I think part of that is being a fully remote business. Like everybody's fully remote. We can hire people from wherever they are, regardless. We don't really, you're not limited to hiring just within a regional area. The team is from all over Europe and the world. We have team members from India and Australia and New Zealand and Canada and the US and UK and all through Central Europe, Egypt. So we have team members that are scattered all over the place. Being in travel, that's kind of, I guess normal to a certain degree. You want to have that kind of diversity because that kind of diversity brings perspective to a business that doesn't exist if you build your business in a bubble and in a regional bubble, right? And you limit yourself to hiring only within a very small geographic area. You cut out a ton of amazing talent that exists all around the world.
Stephen, if you put your thoughts and your feelings and all, your excitement and your passion for the customer and the people you work with in a bottle, I would sell it. I think this is just, I really think it's phenomenal. And what you've done is take the complicated aspect of your work and you simplified it in a way that now people can hopefully grasp in any industry they're in and say, okay, we hire the right people, we create the right culture, and we don't have to beat everybody in the head to get them to do something.
Yeah.
Right? They come in wanting to do it, and someone with your passion, you're not pointing your feet to the exit door. You're saying, how can I build this company and make it better? And man, I applaud you because this is what customer service is. When they talk about the Disney way, I know you don't like the tried and true way. I don't like that approach either. What you've done is that you guys have put it on steroids. And I am thoroughly impressed, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
We're in Calgary here, and we'll have to get together when we get to Vancouver
for
a cup of coffee.
You're a short, 50-minute flight from Vancouver.
Really? I know we came in through Vancouver, we came from Ukraine just days before the war began.
Oh, okay.
And we spent 6 months in Mexico waiting for our paperwork. And we got to Calgary. My wife, you should have saw her face. She's an engineer, a published author and all, and yet she gets to she almost cried when she came to the airport in Vancouver. And the woman said to her, they say to everybody, but she said, "Welcome to Canada." Oh my goodness. You just saw her face. She felt like, wow, how nice. She just felt so overwhelmed. We've enjoyed our time here immensely. And we just really appreciate it. And it's people like you that have this feeling that promote decency and the real customer experience the way it should be. I applaud you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I hope this evening you'll go back and have some extra dessert on me, and call in sick the next couple of days. Tell them Jim said it was okay. All right,
I wish. I've got a boatload of work to do. So
I can do it for you. I just pick your brain. Don't worry about it. My friend, thank you. You've been a breath of fresh air, and I can't wait for people to hear this podcast because you're giving them real information that can turn any business, any industry, the right direction for the customer. You take care of yourself, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will talk again.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Jim.
Bye.
Bye.